Well, good morning and greetings from the graduate school at WKU and welcome to the new graduate student orientation. I'm really delighted to see all of you, albeit virtually, and thank you for joining with us this morning. Before I make my opening remarks, I would like to recognize several people in the Zoom session, and I'll go in alphabetical order and introduce the graduate school staff. First, Ms. Laura Birchfield is the Research and Graduate Education Outreach Coordinator. Laura?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us. I've been with the WK Graduate School for about 5 years. I've recently transitioned to the new role that Dr. Kudali just stated. So I'm sure I'll be seeing you all in future events.
Well, thank you, Laura. So Laura has just started a new position, and many of the graduate students will see emails from her on behalf of the graduate school, and we're fortunate to retain her as an outreach coordinator. The second staff member from the graduate school I'd like to recognize is Ms. Barbara Chaffin, who works with the admissions unit and serves as an admissions associate. Barb?
Good morning to everyone and welcome to WKU. And I hope you have the best experience here with WKU. And of course, you've already been admitted and you've already gone through that part, which I'm a part of, but this office is here to help you in any way. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. So Barbara has years of experience and has been working incredibly hard, and many of you may not know the work that she has been doing to help you get admitted here. The next individual is Dr. Colette Chell. She serves as an associate director in the graduate records. Dr. Chell?
Good morning, everyone. Glad to have you this morning. I will be chatting with you in a little bit, so I'll be very brief.
Thank you, Dr. Chelf. As Dr. Chelf mentioned, she'll talk about Degree Works. It's a new and exciting adventure for us, and in the midst of a raging pandemic and working virtually, she showed great leadership in pulling this project. This will make life easy for you, for your program advisors, and graduate school staff as well. The next staff member I'd like to introduce is a new member to our operation. Ms. Elizabeth Dorr, or Lizzie, serves as an office associate. And Lizzie?
Hi, everyone. This is Lizzie Dorr. I sit at the front desk in the graduate office, so if you ever need help, I am up front and you can give us a call, and I'm happy to be here to help everyone start their journey at WKU.
Thank you so much, Lizzie. The next staff member I'd like to introduce is Dr. Scott Gordon, who serves as a manager for graduate recruitment and retention. All or some of you are here at WKU due to his hard work and Scott.
Good morning, everyone. As Dr. Chelf said earlier, I'll be talking with you later on in the student panel section, so I don't want to take up too much of your time this morning, but I'm very glad to see everyone.
Thank you, Scott. The next staff member I'd like to introduce is Ms. Julie Harris. She works closely with Ms. Barbara Chaffin and has been working very hard to ensure that your application materials are complete, sent to the various programs, and that a decision letter, in your student's case, an admission letter is sent on my behalf. Julie?
Hi, everyone. Good morning and welcome to WKU, beginning fall 2021 session. Of course, you've worked with Barb and I already through the admissions and application process. And if there's anything further we can do, we're here to help. If you want to add a certificate, anything of that nature, you'll come back through our area and we'll be happy to assist. And again, congratulations on your admission and welcome to Western and go Tops.
Thank you, Julie, for all that you do to bring the students here. The next staff member I'd like to introduce is Ms. Gina Johnson. She is not officially affiliated with the graduate school, works for ITS, but is an incredible asset to our operations. And Ms. Gina Johnson, are you here with us?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to graduate school. Like Dr. Kudali said, I support the graduate school through the ITS department. And so I help them with a lot of their data needs. So welcome and good luck.
Thank you, Gina. The next staff member I'd like to introduce is Ms. Lisa Myers. She's the graduate records assistant. And once you're admitted, your matriculation and your progress, etc., is monitored by her. Lisa?
Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Lisa Myers. I work in the graduate school. I've been here about 4.5 years. And once you're admitted into your program, you will be working with me if you have questions concerning your matriculation throughout your program, all the way through degree completion and your final degree audit. So I'm probably going to be your first point of contact if you have questions concerning that process. So welcome to WKU.
Thank you, Lisa, very much. Our next staff member is Ms. Shonda Spencer, who is the business manager. So Shonda, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Hello all, and thank you for joining us in this new graduate student orientation. I am, as Dr. Kudali said, Ms. Shonda Spencer. I'm the business manager of the graduate school office, and many of you have possibly landed a graduate assistantship, and for those who have, I am the one who handles those. So if you have any questions or any discrepancies with your graduate assistantship, you can reach out to me via email or phone, and I will be sure to help as best I possibly can to fix whatever issue you may be having, or you can contact me through the financial aid office. They will reach out to me as well. Thank you for joining us and welcome to WKU.
Thank you, Shonda. I cannot see all of you on the screen, but I'm wondering if Dr. Jennifer Hammonds, the registrar, is with us, or anyone from the registrar's office. I can't see everyone, as I said. If not, we'll move in the interest of time. So I work with an incredible team of extremely conscientious and hardworking staff. Our operations are also supported by graduate faculty and staff across all units. And we work very closely with graduate council members as well. And I note that there are a few graduate council members. So this is a team effort from several units on campus to help you get enrolled. And then once you're enrolled, we will help you in providing exceptional support academically and curricular-wise, and also extracurricular-wise. So on behalf of the graduate school, I want to congratulate you officially on being accepted to the WKU. And the plan for today is as shown in the second slide. We'll wrap up the introductions in a minute or two, and we'll then refer to Dr. Colette Shelf, who will talk about academic policies and academic progress, but with emphasis on degree works. It is a new, exciting adventure for us that will help you understand where you are in your program. And then graduate student mental health and well-being is of great importance to us. We want you to thrive. And we are fortunate enough to have Dr. Carl Lavish, the Associate Director in the Counseling Center, talk a little bit about the opportunities that the Counseling Center provides. We have partnered with the Counseling Center to have a series of workshops with your interests in mind. Later, we'll have a panel of faculty talking about research and creative scholarship opportunities. And later, Dr. Scott Gordon will have a roundtable that will include 4 graduate students so that they can provide you with knowledge as to how you can navigate the complexities of graduate education. Just take one moment and one more slide and I'll be done. This slide has the picture of a student, a talented student, just like you. Miss Ava Ferguson was a student in our master's program in psychological sciences. And recently, the Council of Graduate Schools, which is a advocacy group for graduate students, featured her in what is called a Grad Impact. She happened to be the first graduate student in the Commonwealth of Kentucky to be featured in this Grad Impact project. The point I'm trying to make is today, you join an incredible group of such talented students. You will be afforded exceptional quality of instruction by your faculty, advising from your program advisors. You have graduate program coordinators, assistant and associate deans, and then an associate provost. In addition, you have support units, counseling center, financial aid, the student union, etc. So you have a family here that helps you to succeed and thrive during your graduate studies here at WKU. So as you embark on a new phase of your career, we want to ensure you that we are fully committed to your intellectual growth and professional development. We partner with several units on campus to provide you with resources. Please make use of these opportunities. We are fully committed to the practice of inclusive excellence. We value each of you as you bring new perspectives, ideas, thoughts, gifts, and talents. These enrich our lives and provide a positive and lasting impact to all of us. In closing, congratulations and welcome again to the Hilltopper family. Thank you and wish you the very best. And I'll now pause here and ask Dr. Chelf to talk about academic policies and degree works. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kudali. If you could allow my screen sharing, and I will share our website. While he's doing that, I will say welcome again. We are so happy that you're here. We are so happy that you've chosen WKU to do your graduate work.
Please try, Dr. Chelf. You should be able to.
I have that. So everyone can see that screen. I just want to go over a few things this morning in the brief time that we have to talk about points of contact for you, what the matriculation, some sources of information for you regarding matriculation and getting you to that degree completion that you're all striving for. This is the graduate school's website. It is the main, oh, that's the catalog. Let me flip back over. I'm over a screen. This is the graduate school's website. It is just the wku.edu/graduate. There is a lot of information on this website for you, beginning with the staff that Dr. Kudali has just introduced. The navigation bar here has a lot of information for you as you go through your programs, information about graduate assistantships. As Julie Harris mentioned, if you wanted to add a program, you can browse through certificates and additional programs there. We have just an enormous amount of information, and this is going to be your first site that you would want to go to if you have questions or need information about graduate education. One of the main things that I wanted to share today are the policies and curriculum and courses information for all graduate students are published in our graduate catalog. That the link is right there. So I wanted to flip over to the graduate catalog for you very quickly. Anything about admission, enrollment, financial information, all of the programs, if you want to look at other programs, all the course inventories, everything is available for you in the graduate catalog. This is last year's graduate catalog. We load new faculty, new courses, new programs, things like that. And our new catalog should be published on Monday. It is the same link, so you will see your programs and so forth there. Specifically under enrollment, because that's where you are right now, I want to click over and show you some of the things in the catalog under enrollment that might be relevant to policies that you need to be aware of. We have several policies related to your program, such as duplication of coursework, repeating courses, the research requirement, time limitation for degree completion, and so forth. So you might want to click over to the catalog at some point in the next week or two, look through it, read through it. It is the responsibility of the students to know what the policies are, and you will work with your advisor as you matriculate through your program. And the graduate faculty here who serve as advisors are just phenomenal. They are very familiar with the graduate school policies and procedures, university policies and procedures, and their own program procedures. There are lots of programs who have handbooks or other requirements that you need to meet. So you will want to work very, very closely with your advisor. Each graduate student for each program was assigned an advisor in that program that is a member of our graduate faculty, and that is on your letter of admission. You can also find that on TopNet. And if you just don't have any of those things and just need to know, you can call our front office and they will tell you as well. So those are just some things in the catalog you'll want to look for. The academic calendar is there, different things that will help you navigate through your time here. So mainly we wanted to block this time to share with you all our new degree advising and auditing system called DegreeWorks. And if I'll flip back over to the graduate school website, there's a DegreeWorks link that's clean and nice for you. A whole site has been developed for this new system. There's some frequently asked questions, glossary, lots of information there for advisors and students. But I want to go ahead and launch DegreeWorks for you. I have a student example to show you how you will see your program and how you and your advisor can work through your program all the way through to degree completion. And I have to sign on. 2 seconds. We have dual authentication on our campus. And this is a one-time code, so you're not seeing anything that is going to be helpful to you. So when you choose DegreeWorks through that portal, you will see this. You can put in your student ID number here, and it will pull up your program. And I flipped over my paper with my student example. So I have a student who has given me permission. She is one of our doctoral students to show her program to you this morning. So you will be able to see what it looks like. So when you go in and you put in your 800 number, your information will come up here with your program name, all of your advisors' names, your student ID, your GPAs, credits, so forth. So you will see all of that. If you scroll down, you will see your actual program. So you'll see your degree right here. Hers is Doctor of Education. You will see your program requirements. The EDD program is a 60-hour program. All the courses that she has taken are shown here with the green check mark, the grade, the hours, and the term that she took it. The courses that she lacks in her program have a red circle, and it says still needed and gives you the option of the classes that you need. So if you and your advisor were looking at your program and you were going to choose between these, you can also click on these. They're hyperlinked to tell you what the class is and the next sections that are available. So this is a wonderful advising tool. You can look at it by yourself using your NetID and password. You can look at it with your advisor, walk through your program step by step each term to make sure that you're completing on time and taking the courses that you need. The blue circle, half circle, shows a registered class. So she is registered for these 2 courses for fall of 21. And then finally, at the bottom of your major block, you'll be able to see, have you submitted your committee approval for a dissertation or thesis if you are writing one of those, if that is required by your program. Admission to candidacy is only for doctoral programs, so master students will not see that. If you've applied for graduation, that circle will also be checked green. If your thesis or dissertation has been published, that will show green. And then if your advisor has submitted your comprehensive exam capstone, which is the culminating experience for your program for a degree, that will also show as green check marked. Some other blocks on the DegreeWorks portal that you may see are fall through classes. Emily, the example we're looking at, completed a master's here at WKU in communication. So you are seeing all of her communication classes here that are not applying toward this doctoral program. If you have courses that you take that do not apply to the program, they will show in a fall through block and will not be counted toward that degree program. And then anything that is insufficient, she took 2 courses that were non-graded, and she took this course that she withdrew from. So those are showing in insufficient. They will not be applied to the program. And the fall term has not started yet. So we have this block that says pre-registered. So this is showing what courses you are registered. So when spring registration opens up in October and you register for your spring courses, you will see a block on your DegreeWorks audit that shows you your spring courses. There is a legend at the bottom that helps you interpret what the courses are, what the items mean on the DegreeWorks audit. So that's very helpful. And again, this is a brand new system. You are the very first new student cohort that is getting to use this system. It's going to be very, very helpful for advising and degree completion. We hope students are able to plan better and complete their programs in a timely manner. If you have any transfer courses, we do have some forms back over on our graduate school website. If you go to forms, I wanted to share our DegreeWorks, our curriculum exception form. It's the very first one here. And this is going to be where if you have some course substitutions, electives, let's say, that are not on the DegreeWorks audit and you would like to use and you and your advisor approve those, you would put those here in the course substitutions. Or if you have transfer credit from another institution that you would like to apply to your program, you would submit that there. And as you see, these need to be approved by your advisor, your department head, or program coordinator, college dean, and then submit to graduate records. So that's how you keep up with your program as you matriculate through. I will pause right here to see if anyone has questions they would like me to answer. I'm going to have to escape. I cannot see the chat. So Dr. Kudali, are there questions in the chat?
Not that I can see,
Okay.
Dr. Chow.
Okay. All right. So that is primarily what I wanted to share with you all this morning. If there are any issues that you have with your program, please reach out to your advisor first. They are your first line of defense with matriculation. They are the experts on the program and can help you. A lot of information is on TopNet as far as registration and things like that. So they are going to be able to help you with those things. But if you have any questions or issues, please reach out to us. You can call the main graduate school number. You can call me directly. I'm Dr. Chelf. You can call Lisa Myers. She does all of our processing and knows the system backwards and forwards. So please reach out to us. We want to help you. We want you to be successful, and we look forward to working with you all for the next year or two. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Chow, very much. It was a big project that the university embarked upon, and thanks to her leadership and exceptional support from ITS and others on campus, the registrar's office, we are able to provide a new tool to help in your success. We'll go to the third aspect of the graduate orientation, and I'm delighted that Dr. Carl Lavis, the Associate Director for the Counseling Center, is with us. We have been partnering for over a year, and the Counseling Center is your ally, and they have incredible wealth of resources to help you navigate the challenges, the uncertainties that you face, especially due to the COVID. And we are grateful to Dr. Lavis, Dr. Crow, and other leadership in the Counseling Center to help faculty, staff, and students have a well-balanced life. Dr. Lavis, we are eagerly awaiting to hear from you. Thank you for visiting with us this morning.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Let me start with something that my doctoral advisor once said to me. It was the first week of the first semester. We were all sitting nervously in a room getting our orientation. And he stood up and he said, you know, a lot of this may not be making sense to you right now, but it will in time. And I thought that it was such a simple statement, but he got where we were. It's wonderful that you're here. We are so fortunate that you've chosen to come to WKU for graduate study. And we know it's complex, it's rich. And there's no way that you could know everything you need to know right now. And that's all right, that's normal. You've made the first big step. It'll play out. So just grab hold tight when you need to, but every now and then just sort of let go and just float. This will happen. I want to be one of the first of many to tell you there is definitely life after graduate school. And I'm not at all ashamed to tell you there's life during graduate school. It's hard academically. You've gone to the next level, you're taking the next step, but it can also be very pleasant, very enjoyable, very exciting. And it may sound like I'm just commenting on things that are too obvious, but you really do get to have fun as a graduate student. And please don't think that this all has to be, 100% serious all the time. We have a saying, it's not ours. It actually came from a commencement address 30, 40 some years ago that we think applies very well to graduate school. And that is that you are all in grave danger of growing. We like that title so much, we'll actually do a presentation on it later in the semester. That graduate school is very challenging and it can at times be very disruptive, but in a positive way. It leads to growth. It leads to character. So it's part of that philosophy is, well, if you're going to challenge students, you need to support them. One source of support is the Counseling Center. And really, the only thing I want you to take away from what I'm telling you now is there is a counseling center. WKU has a counseling center. You can always find names and phone numbers and websites later on. Just today, know, yeah, there is this counseling center. We are the counseling center for the university. We are the student counseling center. Right now, there are 5 of us, master's level and doctoral level, counselors, psychologists, and social workers. Our youngest staff member, I think, has 3 years in here. I've been here about 30. it's a good center. We have staff that started life in Russia, Japan, Indiana. I mean, just I think a good diversity of experience, of philosophy. So we want you to know that that is available to you. You can use that. We work with students. We don't provide therapy to faculty, staff, or community members. We are paid out of tax dollars and tuition. So in that sense, we're a professional service for students. There is no cost to use the counseling center. We do not charge a fee. We do not bill for sessions. It's covered in tuition and tax dollars. Everything that we talk about at the counseling center with a student is protected or covered by a professional code of ethics and by state law. You have privacy, you have confidentiality. Our counseling center is a part of the university, but we do not talk to the rest of the university. Your file, if you were to come to our center and be a client, we would keep a chart or a file on you, but no one gets to see that. Your degree program doesn't get to see that. Your advisor doesn't get to see that. It's completely separate. We work with a wide variety of student concerns. The running stereotype is that university counseling centers are places students go for test anxiety or homesickness. Like I said, I've been doing this for 30 years now. I have yet to work with a student who wanted to just talk about test anxiety or homesickness. We work with students that are severely depressed, incredibly anxious, sometimes suicidal, sometimes just numb, lost, devastated. I mean, we work with students who are going through very stressful times, who have experienced a great deal of trauma. And we also work with students who are just trying to figure out who they are, trying to figure out, was this the degree program that I thought it would be, or am I where I need to be? So we work with a wide range, but I guess what I'm trying to communicate here is we can work with very deep, very serious issues. And we do that in privacy. And if medication seems indicated, we can refer you to Student Health Service or other providers in the community. Your options for counseling, not that anything good has come out of this pandemic, but the pandemic did give us leverage to begin offering online counseling sessions. And so we can now offer that to students. We are returning to face-to-face sessions for as long as the virus will allow. But you can also do those sessions using Zoom. And some students prefer that. It fits their schedule better. And that may be more the case for graduate students. You also don't have to wear a mask in a Zoom session. So it might make it a little easier, more natural to communicate or talk. But it starts with making a phone call to our front desk, making a phone call to our counseling center. And you will be greeted. A couple of quick questions will be asked, mainly just name, address, phone contact. Your first session with someone on staff, we call that a consultation session, will be about 20 minutes. It will be by Zoom. And that's where we try to get a quick idea of what it is you're wanting to work on so that we can let you know if we can do that or if there's some other service on campus or someone else in town that would be a better fit. So we take about 20 minutes up front just to get an idea of generally what might the options be. If we decide in that first session that it would be a good idea for you to continue meeting, we will talk about who do you want to meet with. Right now you have options. Right now you can go to the website and read the biographies of our therapists and kind of get a gut feeling of who might be a better fit for you. You can choose or select the therapist you would want to work with. And so then your second session would also be by Zoom. And we call that the intake session. And that's where you get more into the details, the history, what's been going on, how long has it been going on, what seems to help, what seems to make it worse. And by the end of that second session, you'll have a good idea of, do I think I can work with this therapist? Does this therapist seem to have a good idea of what might be a better path or a better treatment plan? And then you can discuss, do you want to continue doing Zoom sessions? Would you rather switch to doing in-person or face-to-face sessions? And like I said, we see students for a wide variety of issues, problems, concerns. Our client data tells us the average client is here for 4.5 sessions. So what that means is most students get what they need within 4 to 5 sessions. But we all have clients that we have seen for a year, 2 years. We can do, unlike many other university counseling centers, we are allowed to also provide some of the long-term therapy for students. And so, again, back to the idea of, by the end of that second session, you should have a pretty good idea of how long it might take, how many more times you might be meeting, what would be best, what would work well. Now that's individual therapy. We also offer groups, and you can go to our website to see our list of offerings. We have a mindfulness group. It's kind of a structured workshop where the skills of mindfulness are taught and practiced. From time to time, we've had kind of an emotional regulation workshop. We've had very good luck the last several years with a support group for the LGBTQA community. That's been going very strong. Just within this last year, we have started groups for students of color and groups not limited to white students, but a group where the focus has been on understanding your white privilege and finding ways to step out of that or step away from it. And so as those groups are created, we will advertise them and students can join those. You might see us from time to time because we will also go out to classrooms and do presentations, or as I mentioned, as you've already heard, we've been partnering with the graduate school. We did a number of presentations last year. We're very excited about doing them again this year, where we're presenting on topics that are, we think, unique or special to the graduate student experience. So that's a lot of information that we throw at you on the first day after you've already been overwhelmed with lots of information. So I'll go back to my original statement. All you really need to remember from what I was just spewing is there is a counseling center and lots of successful, competent, passionate, delightful human beings have used a counseling center. We want to get past that stigma that, oh, well, you only go there if you're just really, really impaired or really disturbed. No, you go there to work with someone who will help you do the work for yourself, on yourself, to get to where you want to be, to get to where you deserve to be. So I will leave it at that. If you have questions that you would like to ask, wonderful. If you want to put them in the chat, that's great. If you want to email me later today, wonderful. Be happy to respond. I'm just seriously, honestly, honored that you chose this institution to do your graduate school.
Well, thank you, Dr. Lawes. As always, it is a great pleasure to listen to you and the advice that you provide to the graduate students. As Dr. Lawes said, graduate education may be challenging, and that's okay. There is nothing inherently wrong with any of you. It is just the nature of graduate education. But you have a community of Hilltoppers, starting with your instructor, your academic advisor, your graduate program coordinator, department heads, unit directors, and resources such as the counseling center to help you navigate these challenges and help you complete your degree program. So we are here to help, and that is the tagline of the Counseling Center. And we are deeply grateful to Dr. Lawes and other leadership in the Counseling Center. So please do make full use of the resources and seek out when in need. We do have a date for our first workshop for fall. You do not have to remember it, but since we penciled in, I'll provide you the details. It is on November the 17th, a workshop called Building Resilience. And we will talk about the seminal paper, In Grave Danger of Growing. We will provide details as the date approaches, and a Zoom link will also be provided. And in the spring, we will have additional workshops to help you as you are making progress through your graduate programs. Dr. Lawes, we are grateful to you for the partnership, and will continue to work together for the success of our talented graduate students. And so I remain grateful to you and your outstanding colleagues for providing a much needed resources and assistance to our graduate students. Thank you so much for joining with us this morning. We will now go to the next phase of our orientation, and that is regarding graduate research and creative scholarship opportunities. I'm joined by Dr. Ann Farrell, Dr. Sarah Oakes, and Ms. Shonda Spencer. Ms. Robin Piles is expected to join, and I'm not sure if I see her. Yes, there she is. Wonderful. So I'll just give me a moment. I just have a few PowerPoints as talking points, and I'm hoping that you'll just give me a moment as it is loaded. There it is. Wonderful. So the discussion will center about research and creative scholarship opportunities. And it's an honor for me to introduce the first panelist, Professor Ann Farrell. She's an associate professor of folk studies and also the program director for folk studies. Dr. Farrell, thank you for joining with us.
And thank you so much, Dr. Kudali. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. And welcome, everybody. I want to say, echo what we've heard, that we're thrilled that you have all joined us here at WKU, and we're all here to make your experience successful and support you through your journey. Research is, of course, a key part of the graduate school experience. So you'll be hearing from each of us a little bit with some comments related to the importance of research, which of course differs dramatically by fields of study. And so in terms of the methods that are used, the goals, the topics, your needs in terms of support differ by study, area of study. And so humanities and arts research, as a professor in PCAL, the College of Arts and Letters, Dr. Gudali asked me to briefly mention what that kind of research looks like. And so, for instance, in the English department, graduate students may conduct literary and linguistic analyses. They may create original works of fiction and nonfiction, including things like screenplays. In the organizational communication program, grad students conduct both qualitative and quantitative research about how and why people communicate and how they do so successfully or not and pretty much any topic you can think of. In music education, we have a graduate program here in music education, and students may conduct historical research, looking at understanding performance practices and composer intents in the past. And some of their research may also be applied. So looking at pedagogical practices, studying the ways in which music education is taught in order to improve that at varying levels of age and ability. In my own area of study, in the folk studies program, students conduct ethnographic research, which often includes participant observation, different kinds of interviewing, including oral history interviewing, in order to get to an insider perspective of a particular community. A couple quick examples of students who in the last couple years benefited from research grants from the graduate school include Zara Abedi, who wrote a thesis with the support of funding from the graduate school on Iranian women's ways of subverting rules of dress. And so the research grant helped her with travel to complete fieldwork with Iranian women living in a couple different parts of the United States. Eleanor Miller, who completed our program a couple of years ago, as a very different kind of example, she traveled to archives, which our students do as well, along with ethnographic research. She traveled to archives in Eastern Kentucky to study scrapbooks, and particularly scrapbooks made by a woman named Sudie Crusenberry, who was an important labor activist in Eastern Kentucky. And so she looked at this woman's role in the labor movement in coal mining through her scrapbooks as a particular kind of art. One last example is the ways in which often folk studies research is also applied and sort of grows in multiple directions. So a collaboration between faculty in our department and the Kentucky Folklife program here on campus and the Kentucky Museum here on campus several years ago began with an oral history project with Bosnians who have come to live in Bowling Green following the Bosnian War in the 1990s. That led to an exhibit at the Kentucky Museum, and that led to a traveling exhibit based on that original exhibit, and to our students working with local teachers to create curriculum so that when that exhibit travels to schools, students have that and teachers have that curriculum in order to use that exhibit. So that's one example I wanted to also add about the ways in which research in any field can also be applied and can also really grow into multiple kinds of projects. So I'll stop there for now, as I know there are other wonderful, wonderful folks with lots more to say. So thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Farrell, for providing a broad perspective of opportunities for creative scholarship at WKU. I'd like to introduce our next panelist, Dr. Sarah Oakes. I've had the privilege and honor of working with her for the past year. She's a was a member of the Graduate Student Research Grants Committee, and I've really enjoyed working with her, and she has provided incredible service in reviewing these graduate student research grants. She's an assistant professor in the Department of Psychology in the College of Education and Behavioral Sciences. Dr. Oakes?
Thank you very much, Dr. Kudali, and back at you. It's been a pleasure this past year to work together and learn lots from. Just will echo Dr. Farrell's sentiments of welcome. Hi, we're excited that you're here. It's a great time to be undertaking exciting research and projects at WKU. We do have a lot of different opportunities, ways to expose students to research. As an institution, we are very invested in student research and student scholarship. You could take a class about research, you could take a class within your discipline, talk to faculty members just about their research, certainly work with faculty members within their research lab. And then of course you can take on an independent project, and many of your programs will require some sort of an independent project during your time here. And I think graduate school is really a time to just jump in and learn about your professional interests, see what kind of work is being done across the institution. And so take advantage of all of the opportunities that will be available to you. Certainly we encourage research across discipline as well. So get to know all of the great work being done by our faculty members. And to follow Dr. Farrell, I'm just gonna read some, I'm gonna try not to butcher them, but I'm gonna read you some additional titles of some funded projects over the past few years, just to give a sense of the broad scope of other types of projects that we funded through our graduate student research grant. So out of, I'm gonna be selfish and pick words that I know how to say. Out of psychological sciences, we had a project on the effects of aging on attention and associative learning. Out of, I'll make a stab, out of biology, molecular prospecting for evidence of cryptic speculation in a generalist bat parasite. Out of chemistry, occurrence of estrogens and other steroids in anaerobic digested waste. Out of physics and anatomy, a laser shockwave generation through magnetic control of the plasma plumes for the NITI shape memory alloy treatment. So I just read a few of those to highlight for you that we have such a broad range of work being done, and there's so many opportunities available to students. And we'll talk a little bit more about some specific of the grants for a little bit, but I will also pass it back on. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sarah Oakes, for that introduction. I'd like to now call to attention Ms. Robin Piles. Pursuing research also requires an institution, and hence students, staff, and faculty pursuing research and creative scholarship to be mindful of any federal, state, or local compliance policies. So in the Office of Research and Creative Activity, we have a unit called the Office of Research Integrity. We have to pursue these activities with ethics in mind, with integrity in mind, and we have to adhere to federal policies and other applicable policies. We are fortunate that we have an extremely talented and competent compliance manager in Ms. Robin Piles, and she oversees these compliance activities that relate to human subjects research, animal use and care, use of biohazards, etc. So I'll ask Ms. Robin Piles to just provide a broad perspective of some of the activities and responsibilities that she oversees, and the city training that graduate students are expected to undertake before they pursue research. Ms. Piles?
Thank you, Dr. Kudali, and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining in today. Like Dr. Kudali said, I'm the compliance manager for the Office of Research Integrity, and our office provides guidance to faculty, staff, and students and the community on the rights and welfare of everyone involved throughout the WKU campus and supporting compliance with federal, state, and local regulations. We work with human subjects, animal subjects, biosafety, financial conflict of interest if you are getting grants. We check your trainings to make sure everything is in order before you begin with your data collection period. And we have independent committees that run all of these different boards. So our biggest research area is human subjects, and you have to get an IRB approval, whether it is funded or not. There are exemptions, but you're welcome to call me if you have any questions or concerns. When you are beginning to work on your projects, if you are working with human subjects, we require that you have your city training completed. This includes the responsible conduct of research course and also the social behavioral research course. And those courses can be completed through cityprogram.org. You'll create an account, affiliate with Western, and those will be provided for you free. And that's for human subjects. For any research that you're doing, you have to have the RCR training completed. And then if deemed necessary by other boards, so if you're working with animal subjects or biosafety, there'll be a case-by-case basis on what you need to complete other than the RCR, responsible conduct of research training. I think that is it. I will pass the ball back to Dr. Kudali unless anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Piles. Robin Piles oversees the compliance aspects and is assisted ably by Mr. Trey Robinson. And as you are planning to start your research project, your graduate program advisor or typically a research mentor will work with the Office of Research Integrity and provide you guidance as to the steps required so that you can start your research. I am not sure if Ms. Shonda Spencer is back with us. She was there previously, but I do not see. Shonda, are you here?
I'm still here, Dr. Kudali.
Oh, wonderful. So pursuing any activity requires money. So nothing can be done without money, and the business manager does a fantastic job. She works very closely with the graduate Council Research Committee and ensures that the awards are processed in a timely manner. And Shonda, can you take a moment or two to briefly explain, and I'll use the PowerPoint later, about the role, the key role that you play in helping the students start and then complete their research projects.
Yes, sir. And first and foremost, I want to apologize. I was informed after I introduced myself initially this morning that my volume was a little loud and messing up the volume coming to you guys. So I do apologize for that. I've tried to turn down. I hope my volume is better now and you can all hear me better. So again, I am Shonda Spencer. Anything financial in the graduate school office, I help with. That would be, of course, the research grants. So what it is, when a student is applying for the research grants for their thesis or dissertation or whatnot, when they complete the application packet, which would include the complete budget for the research grant, it currently includes items that we're reviewing to see if they're necessary, but just to speak of those at this time, it includes the CV, and it includes, I apologize, but I think those are the two main documents that you have to have in the application. So the student will put the application packet together, and they will submit it to an email address that I oversee, which is the gsresearchgrant@wku.edu. However, the email address is on the application, so each student would know exactly which email address that goes to. So I'll receive these documents from any student that applies. I packaged them together in a real cute, neat folder for the committee to review because trust me, they come in piecemeal is what I call them, one item at a time here and there. And I know the committee has so many things to do that they don't have time to go through all of these piecemeal. So I packaged them into a cute little folder for them to review these applications. And then I work with the committee to decide what day and time is best for them to review them. Currently, we have proposal day that students will interview basically for the research grant funds. Again, that's something we're reviewing to change the process of. So I'm not sure if it's going to move forward, but I will still work with the committee to decide which date and what time is best for all of them to collaboratively, review these applications and then make a decision as far as, how much we will be able to award to each student. I typically reach out to the student after that to say, whether you've been awarded or denied, but reach out to the student and say, you've been awarded. Here's a feedback letter from the committee, and giving you a little detail or a little feedback as far as your application that you submitted. And then I will then work with the accounting office here at Western and start processing an index, which is what the student will be able to do to spend from basically. And you will spend with a faculty member, typically your advisor or PI. And if you have any questions at that time, you can reach out to me and I can answer those questions. If you need to change your budget, say you get into your research and some things change that you need to purchase or whatnot, you'll reach out to me and I will be able to assist at that time. I think that is the best of the research grant process that I can give you for now at this very moment. However, if there's any questions after, please feel free again to reach me via email or phone if you would like to have me answer any questions that you may have or that may come up after this orientation. But for now, I will close out with that and ask if there are any questions at this time.
I don't see anything in the chat yet. So thank you all very much for the high level of information from your perspectives, Dr. Farrell, Dr. Oakes, Ms. Piles, and Ms. Spencer. You have prepared a PowerPoint that I'm assuming you can see with just high level details, just to give you an idea and a sense of what the application process will look like. As Shonda alluded to, there is an email address, and all this information will be in the website, so you do not have to take notes. This orientation is also recorded, so you can go back later if you want to see. So essentially, there are some required materials, and if something is missing, then your application may not be reviewed because it is a competitive proposal. So there is an application form, signatures are required, there is a budget form, and that's where Ms. Shonda Spencer plays an important role. But the heart and meat of the research grant is the research proposal. What is the idea that you are stating? How are you articulating it? And that is where the committee members would like to see how well the grant is written, what is the novelty, what is the impact of the work. And so the research proposal, if you look at the third bulleted point, it has certain items that should be included in the research proposal. And these are the things that reviewers and the Graduate Council Research Committee members are looking at: the title, the purpose, the design, and the intended use. So Dr. Oakes, I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit after reviewing so many graduate research grants as to, from your perspective, what are the important points that a student must take into consideration when they're writing sections related to purpose, design. And the reason I ask this is the committee members are drawn from multiple colleges, right? as you rightly pointed out, we may not be able to pronounce or even read the titles of the proposed project. So how can, given the diversity and breadth of research and creative scholarship happening, what are the important and key elements that you are looking for in the proposal?
That is such a great point and a great question. I think it can be frustrating for students at times to think, why don't they know what I'm talking about? But it's also such a wonderful skill to develop, to be able to communicate your research, your work, your ideas to a multidisciplinary audience. I think for any of us, we care that our work is broadly applicable and helpful to the world and all of those good things. So I would just highlight, well, one thing I'll mention, we in the past have had, I can't think of the word off the top of my head, trainings, webinars, workshops, there we go, workshops to support your development of these. And I'm sure Dr. Kudali will reference those, but please keep those on your radar because that's a great time to get some feedback and additional insight about how to construct this proposal piece. But just quickly, I would say, make sure that someone from outside of your discipline could understand. So find that balance between being brief enough that you're not over communicating, you're identifying what are the essential elements of your project, but describing it enough so that people can understand. And I would encourage you to have someone outside of your discipline read it, whether it's a peer at the institution, a faculty member from another department, to help to ensure that it's communicated in a way that others can understand.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Oakes. Dr. Farrell, do you want to provide your perspectives as if you were a reviewer, what would you look to be the key selling points of a research grant proposal?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. I absolutely echo Dr. Oakes's point about making sure that it's clear to those outside of your discipline. But also, I'm always interested in, or I'm always really encouraging students to be sure that what do I want to learn? You know, what are my research questions are really clear. You know, what is the outcome? Yes, it's going to be my thesis, etc. But what is it that you want to learn and why? You know, what is it that is driving you to this research? How is this, you know, a passion for you if it is, et cetera? How did you come to this? And potentially even sort of, you know, what not only what's the outcome in terms of that thesis or publication, but what do you want to get out of it as well? And Dr. Oakes may have more comments on that, saying yay or nay, as the research committee chair. But those are some of the things I encourage students to really think about. And if I can also say as well, I think we can't stress enough the importance not only of research, but being able to describe your research both in written and oral form. Our research is important, but if we can't get across to others how important it is, including those outside our discipline, then it won't get the recognition that it deserves. So those written and oral communication skills that, as someone from the humanities, I have trouble with the term soft skills. Those skills are really key to your success as graduate students, no matter what your field. So there's my my unsolicited advice on that. Thank you, Dr. Kudali.
Thank you, Dr. Farrell. Yes, I have stopped using the terminology soft skills. They're transferable skills. Every skills require cognition, right? These skills have been called non-cognitive skills, but transferable skills are very key. So the takeaway from this message is that the research proposal should talk about why are we doing this project or this creative scholarship? What is the knowledge gap and what is the outcome? And if it is and also the design, how will you go about in your inquiry? So those are the key elements that reviewers and the Graduate Council Research Committee members looks into. So I'll just go to the next slide briefly. And here is some.
I made sure I wasn't on mute, and I'm not.
And I'll just continue. So these are some more elements of the proposal that are critical. A one-page bio has been required. We are reviewing the process. And then there is a statement required from the student and the advisor certifying that no documents included in the proposal are plagiarized, a letter of endorsement, And then depending on the scope of your project, this is where the compliance aspect comes into. And these can be provided just in time. So for example, we have had some differing practices, but if your project requires human subjects approval, you may be getting a letter saying your research grant has been recommended for funding, but the funds will not be released unless you complete this aspect of compliance. So Ms. Piles, do you want to talk about a little bit about IBC, IACUC, and human subjects approval? And from a student's perspective, how can they work with their faculty or research mentor to go about in getting these done?
Sure will, thank you. So human subjects, like I said, is the biggest area that we see research in. When you are conducting research with human subjects, you'll submit your applications to me through irbnet.org. All of the information is found on our compliance website, www.wku.edu/compliance. And then in parentheses, when you see that, it will say research integrity. You can find, once you create your account with irbnet.org and have it affiliated with Western, on the left-hand side, you'll have your selections. The second from the bottom is the forms and template section, and you'll see our WKU IRB application, how to navigate the IRBnet website, city information for those courses I previously discussed, and also the continuing review. So if you once your initial approval is made, and if you're making any changes to your research design, or you've seen any adverse effects or changes in the source of your subjects, any change, you'll have to submit a continuing review. This is a one-page form just to stay compliant when you make those changes. With the human subjects, the application is pretty straightforward. You have to have a faculty advisor, and then you'll either be listed as the PI or COI, and there are sections A through H. So we ask in layman's terms, as Dr. Oakes and Dr. Farrell described, have many different areas of expertise, but since we all aren't in one subject area, we ask that you explain your research in layman's terms. So section A, you'll give an overview, you'll give what participant pool you're looking at, use the informed consent template that we provide, and then describe your informed consent process in section C. We have your procedures, if there'll be any risk or discomforts to your participants, confidentiality, and then of course the benefit. We have to have a benefit for research. And then you'll attach any of your data collection measures, any outside letters of support, all at the bottom. So it's like Shonda explained with the graduate proposal, this is just submitted in one pretty package. So until we have all of those pieces, we can't move forward with an approval. There are 3 types of approvals in human subjects. There's exempt, expedited, and full board review. If you do plan on working with a vulnerable population, then you will need to make sure you plan ahead of time, because this will likely take about a month to get approved. Once you submit, it has to be submitted at the first of the month. Our meeting is usually the 3rd Friday of the month, and then we'll provide feedback, and then you'll turn in your revised application. Exempt and expedited approvals are usually within 3 days, as long as everything's together. But again, I wouldn't wait until the last minute just in case we're asking for any extra pieces. With IACUC approvals with animal subjects, this is submitted, and it usually takes about a week to get the approval turned around if you have everything together. Once it's submitted, we may ask for revisions after that 7-day mark. So I would definitely give yourself at least a 2-week window. With biosafety, We do have fast tracked approvals, which is 1 to 2 weeks, or if they have to go through the full board, it could be a month or so. So definitely give yourself plenty of time for the biosafety approval as well. I think that's it. All of those materials can be found within that compliance webpage. And of course, you're welcome to email me at ORI, Office of Research Integrity at wku.edu. Or my extension is 745-3360, and I'm available anytime.
Well, thank you, Ms. Piles. I have one more slide, I believe. This is the budget guidance. So we, as a public institution, there are some fundable expenses and non-fundable expenses. So this slide provides some details as to what is allowable. For example, if you want to go to a conference, suddenly you will be able to present the research that you have carried out and share that with your peers. And then there are certain things that you need to be mindful of. For example, we have a long list written here. Shonda, do you want to just quickly go through? I know that we are a minute outside of the window. Anything you want to talk about fundable expenses? Shonda, are you here?
Yes, I apologize for that. I was trying to get my mute button clicked. All I can say, because there are so many different fundable and non-fundable expenses, if you have a question about whether your expense is fundable or non-fundable, you can reach out to me at any time. The PowerPoint that Dr. Kodali is showing is very, very helpful, has a lot of information, but sometimes there's something else that comes up and maybe I wouldn't even know, so I have to contact other areas just to make sure whether it's fundable or non-fundable. So please feel free to reach out to me at any time to ask those questions, and or if I see it on the budget once you submit your documentation, I will reach out to you to let you know that this item may not be fundable or whatnot. So we will definitely help out all along the way, and if there's any questions, I'm here for you.
Thank you, Shonda. And the details are here again. We have in our website, there is information about graduate student research grants. Some of it might change. The new committee has just been formed, and so we will work through the process and we will provide a workshop. And there we will go in depth with details regarding some of these. In the interest of time, perhaps Dr. Oakes, you have some last minute words for the students as they are thinking about their research and creative scholarship in addition to courses.
Thank you. I'll be very brief again because we're over time, but I would just emphasize again that graduate school, I believe, is just truly a privilege to be able to spend an extra couple years of your life just really immersed in your field and generating new knowledge and being around people who have the same sort of passion for inquiry. So please just take advantage of all that is available to you at WKU through your wonderful peer colleagues, as well as faculty and staff, and all of those that are interested in supporting your work. You might be very anxious to get started with research and feel intimidated, but everyone will be very helpful and meet you wherever you're at in that process, but just ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Oakes. Dr. Farrell, you get the privilege of having the last words for the graduate students.
Well, fabulous. I want to echo everything that Dr. Oakes just said, and my quick last point would just be that you've just had a lot of information thrown at you, and you're not expected to retain it today. So all of these things are going to be things that you're going to learn more about in your programs and from your mentors and advisors. And again, we're all here to help you and support you through this. So welcome once again, and thank you all very much.
Thank you, Dr. Farrell. Again, Dr. Oakes, Dr. Farrell, Ms. Piles, and Ms. Spencer, thank you for taking some time and explaining about graduate student research grant. And so we'll have a call for these grants pretty soon. and we'll announce more details through email. We'll go to one of the most exciting parts of the new graduate student orientation. And I'm grateful to Dr. Scott Gordon, who will facilitate this session. And we're also thankful to Ms. Subarna Pandit from SEEBS, Ms. Leslie Jones from Gordon Ford, Ms. Whitney Hurd from Ogden, and Ms. Julie Sisler from PCAL. So Dr. Gordon, I turn it over to you for the finale of the new graduate student orientation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kudali. I'm very pleased to be joined by, as Dr. Kudali just mentioned, several of our current and recently graduated graduate students. And I know they have a very wide diversity of knowledge and experience. So I would like to just briefly introduce each of them and then give them an opportunity to speak about themselves and give you some more information. So first off is Ms. Subarna Pandit from the College of Education and Behavioral Sciences. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. I am Subarna. I have been at WKU since, my journey had begun in 2015 when I started my master's here, and I became an alumni. I worked in the field, and then when I wanted to pursue my doctorate, this felt like home. So I came back for my educational doctorate, and that's where I am at now. This has been an absolutely learning experience for me, and I'm so honored to be part of this panel today.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Ms. Leslie Jones from the Gordon Ford College of Business. And Leslie, I think you're still muted.
Sorry about that. I
Thank you.
accidentally remuted myself. Hey everyone, my name is Leslie. I graduated from WKU undergrad from the Gordon Ford College of Business in marketing, and went and got some degree work at a boutique design firm. Felt like I wanted more business experience, so I decided to go back in the fall of 2020, and I began my MBA. Graduated in the spring, and now I am the specialist for the MBA department here, working on the marketing and strategy for the program. So any of our current MBA students, I'm your person and point of contact. So if you guys need anything at all, let me know. But I'm super excited to be here and help build the program that built me.
Wonderful. Next is Ms. Whitney Hurd from the Ogden College of Science and Engineering.
Hi, I'm Whitney. I went out of state for undergrad in St. Louis, but I'm from Bowling Green, Kentucky. Many of my family members are alumni of WKU, so the university has also felt like home to me. In lieu of COVID, I decided to come home and focus on research under Dr. King's lab. I've always been interested in science, and so I did graduate at the Gatton Academy, so I had a little bit of integration with the Ogden College back in high school, and very familiar with a lot of the faculty and staff that revolve around the biology, chemistry department, and yeah, definitely enjoying my time here so far.
Very good. And our final participant is Ms. Julie Sisler from the Potter College of Arts and Letters.
Hi, I am originally from Des Moines, Iowa, but I came to WKU in 2018 to do my undergrad. I got degrees in communication studies and English, and just loved it so much that I decided to stick around for my master's. So I'm currently working on my master's in organizational communication, and then certificates in organizational leadership. So definitely love all that PCAL has to offer, and done a lot of research, done a lot of different things within the department in PCAL in terms of like tutoring and administrative work, things like that. But what I'm most excited for is that I'm about to start this year with my first teaching experience and teaching my own sections of COM 145, which all of our freshmen have to take. So super excited.
Wonderful. Well, Just so audience, so that you know what our plan is, we have some general questions we would like to get feedback from all of our panelists on. And then we would like to leave some time at the end for your questions as well. So if you do have questions, please feel free to put those in the chat and we will be glad to address those as we can. First question that I have for our distinguished panelists is, as a graduate student, how do you manage your time? What are the things that surprised you? What are the things that you think back and you say, wow, I wish I knew this when I was beginning my graduate program?
I'll go. I think the one thing that it is something that it's a learning process, number one. No one comes in knowing that you're going to do perfectly fine with the time management, especially if you are, multitasking while you're working and studying. So I think the main way that helped for me completely would be the fact that the schedule given by our professors for each class. So there's always a deadline. There's always a stipulated time given for each project, each assignment, whatever it is that is, coming up. So timing that into the, repertoire helps a lot. And most of the times, most of those things kind of streamline on, nearby dates. So making time, even 2 hours a day, helps, completing those tasks and meeting the goals and deadlines on time. And then you're rest assured, you're pretty much relaxed the rest of the week knowing, yes, I completed that task and I have time for the next one. And some extra time just for yourself, for relaxing. That's my input.
Kind of hopping on that, another big thing that I found to be different from undergraduate going into graduate school that I was not prepared for is that so much of the work that you do, like in undergrad, you do a lot of like daily assignments and daily quizzes and things like that. And then when you get into grad school, a lot of the curriculum and the assignments, it's more of like reading and discussion and larger projects and things like that. And so you have to be more realistic about your time instead of just knowing like, well, of course, I know I'm going to have something due every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I know I'll have to have some time. You have to really like set aside that time and go, okay, I know that I have all the way until next Tuesday to get it done, but realistically, am I going to do it if I wait until Tuesday morning? The answer is probably no. So along with, looking at the schedule, making sure that you are using all of your information about what's coming up and everything. Also just being realistic with time management, because a lot of graduate students are balancing work, extracurriculars, internships, a million other things, research even. And so making sure that you're really honest with yourself about what you can get done in a certain amount of time and how much procrastination isn't good. I think that that'll be a really good way to approach time management, at least it was for me.
Going off of what Julie was saying there, I think that intentionality is key because, in undergrad, there's so much about, I just want to be done. I just want to have the diploma and I want to be done. To make grad school valuable, I believe you truly have to take every single class and every single moment and soak it in. The things that you learn in grad school, regardless of your program, are more than likely the things that you will carry with you throughout your entire professional career. And so for me, I had to look at it and say, okay, this program is built for you to be working full time. And even though I was working full time and was already overwhelmed, I had to look at it and say, this is a privilege for me to be here. So I need to look at it as a commitment that I've made. And here's the extra hours that I'm going to devote, which means that I'm sacrificing other things. So for this year or 2 years, I know that I'm sacrificing this much time because I know it's worth it for my career down the line. So I would just encourage you to know, like, this is temporary as far as not having a lot of time, but it's worth it. And it's a privilege and it's so exciting. And that's the only thing that kind of got me through when I would be really overwhelmed and stressed.
So one thing for me, I'm sure they also use one, a planner. In undergrad, I was kind of definitely lazy about upkeep with it, but with graduate school, it does help just keep it on track because like they said, you don't have assignments due every day. So if you've got a massive paper that's due in 3 weeks, well, that doesn't seem pressing in your mind immediately. But if you have a planner that helps kind of keep track of things over time. It does help. I know for at least in STEM research, a lot of times things don't always go according to plan. So communication with your research advisor is always very, very important with that. I know particularly for my lab, we a lot of times establish things on a weekly basis. So I have a certain amount of tasks that I want to try and accomplish within that week. And if a certain experiment doesn't go according to plan, it's okay, but we do have at least an established timeline there. Like I think it was Leslie maybe who said with your class schedule, they kind of give you an outline of when you should be doing assignments, how to study for the, or not necessarily how to study for them, but what you need to be doing to get those assignments complete. So if you can revolve that aspect around one part of your planning and then working with your advisor to do your research aspect, it kind of does help alleviate some of that pressure and stress of, oh my goodness, I've got all these big assignments coming up, but they're not now. So it's like, do I work on them now or do I work on them later? And it just kind of helps you balance what needs to be done first, and kind of like a rock, you're taking at it a little bit at a time rather than procrastinating and just doing it all at once.
Whitney, that's really a great segue into our next question. I think all of you touched on this a little bit, but how do you balance your schoolwork with the other responsibilities that you have in life? That's the thing. As graduate students, many students do have full-time employment or have other things going on. So a lot of times when you're an undergraduate, that's really the primary focus in your life. How do you do that in graduate school when you have competing priorities that, are things that are very important to be done, but how do you balance your studies with that just individually?
I think for me, communication was key. I was really lucky to have a boss who I was already had really good communication with beforehand, and I went to him directly and I had some conversations with him knowing that I wanted to make this commitment, what that looked like, and just communicate that with whoever, whether it's, your research side or whether it's your employer. Just make sure that they know, and keep talking. Don't think that you can just bottle it all in and know in your brain that you have 10 things going on, because you're the only person that knows that. So if you can just be open about it and just try to make it work, and know that you're not going to be perfect every time, and something's got to give somewhere. So just know that you just got to take it day by day, but communication is key, I think.
Along with that, communicating with your boss, also communicating just so extensively with your faculty. One of the greatest parts about grad school is that those class sizes are so small. So you really do have this incredible opportunity to get to know your faculty much more closely. You only see them once a week, but all of my faculty, I'm in pretty much constant communication with, because we're constantly talking about research or projects, or I see them in the hall and they want to ask how class went or things like that. So just being open and honest with your faculty about, hey, you really gave us a lot for this week. And faculty, they're so much more likely to go, oh, yeah, no, I definitely did that. Let's rethink this one. And so just letting them know where you're at. Another amazing thing about the faculty's understanding of graduate students is that because so many of us do have other jobs, like full-time jobs off campus, they know that, and they know that, you have a family off campus and you have all of these other things that need to come first at times. And so just as long as you are really communicating that, being honest with the fact that you are, still dedicated to your studies, it's just that sometimes things come up, faculty are really willing to work with you, and willing to make sure that you are having the best experience you can. So I definitely second that communication is really important. But in terms of balancing work and school, I think that the other big thing would be sort of prioritizing and reminding yourself why you're here. That is a big thing that I've heard a lot of different peers talking about, is just that when you go to undergrad, a lot of people go all that. When you get to graduate school, it's just sort of different, because you really had to make that conscious choice that you were going to be here. You were going to keep going to school. You were going to keep trying to find that balance. And so reminding yourself of that will be so nice when it comes to balancing things and kind of remembering why you're doing it all, because it will be a lot, but you can get through it. Just got to work on that mindset.
for me, I mean, they both covered all the bases, honestly. There's not much to add to that, but I will just say, I actually worked as a graduate assistant, and I was a academic advisor for the interdisciplinary studies, which is dealing with mostly non-traditional students. So even though it was meant to be part-time, it felt full-time sometimes. And there's a lot of lag of that can carry forward into your studies as well sometimes. In those moments, I believe just taking a second just for yourself and just reacclimating all your thoughts in your mind, and then going back with a fresh perspective into whatever project that you're doing for your class course is important. And there again, the communication is key, because whatever you are feeling, if you don't let it be known to the professor, to the faculty, they wouldn't know, and they cannot just assume on their own. So that is very key. You must make sure that if there is a moment where you need a little extra time, and or as Julie said, sometimes professors don't realize that, okay, maybe it's a little bit too much in this particular week. I have had those situations, and professors absolutely understand that okay, it could be, divided into more smaller projects or whatever, but they're very understanding as long as you communicate. So yes, communication is key, and prioritize yourself before doing anything else. Like, keep that going for yourself.
Similarly, yes, communication. One thing that I sometimes will do is I will plan basically a me time, whether it's doing something, a hobby that I like, or it's just sitting down and watching one of my favorite shows, or just going outside, taking a walk, just something that's completely unrelated to schoolwork, research, anything related to school, just to kind of let my brain relax, reset, so that you're not constantly having to just worry about or stress about the next assignment, because sometimes it does take just giving yourself a mental break to kind of reset and reinvigorate your mind, and you can step away and then come back. And it doesn't have to be a long amount of time, or if you see that you've got free time, sometimes you don't always have to be working ahead. It does help to just maybe an hour or two a day, just to kind of sit there and know that it's okay, you're going to get it done. And it's no big deal to give yourself that time if you feel it's necessary. I know sometimes I'll beat myself up because I could be sitting there and be like, well, I could be doing my lab notebook, or I could be working on this paper, but mental exhaustion is very real in graduate school. And by the time it's especially important towards finals week, when all of those big assignments do come due, or you're working towards your thesis or non-thesis, whichever project you have going on, a lot of those milestones occur at the end of the semester. So I feel it's more important to kind of pace yourself and take time for yourself when necessary, because if not, you just kind of crack under that pressure, and then you may not give your best effort, or things may not go as they want to, and then you start to spiral out, and it goes down a very bad rabbit hole. So taking those little breaks as you go along do help in the long run, I think.
And I just want to add just one small thing that I do. It's right when those big projects are due, especially in doctoral course. I have actually experienced that a lot. I have started doing this thing. I watch some of the most bizarre television shows that are available on Netflix or Hulu, or any other streaming service that you have. Commit to that. Watch one episode a day. It kind of really like puts your mind in a completely different perspective. It's like, what did I just watch? And then when you go back to your studies, it's more normal and you're more committed. That's what works for me. So I'm just putting it out there.
All right, I like that advice, and that's again a really good segue into our next question of coming from the point of experience that all of you have as graduate students. What is one tip that you would give to someone at this point? The one piece of advice that you could really help people with, and then this will really be our final kind of discussion question, and then we will be looking for questions from the audience. So, audience, if you do have questions, please feel free to put those in the chat, and as I said, we'll address them as we can.
Talk to your professors. That's probably the biggest. I have social anxiety. Talking to people that I don't know, you learn to get past it. It is very helpful to just talk to your professors, because sometimes they'll give you an assignment that you may not 100% get. If you ask, there will be clarification. If you need more time, more likely than not, they will give you more time. Like Julie said, the classes are extremely small. So a lot of times in those courses, if you're taking a 400 level course, you may be the only graduate student, or there's only one or two. So there's a lot more flexibility in terms of assignments because they're going to be different. And talk to your professors. I'm sure I've annoyed mine because I bug them 10 times a day with emails, clarifying, asking. Yes, it is the greatest asset ever, is the person who is teaching you.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, ask a million questions. I cannot stress enough that there are no stupid questions. Every question is a good one, and faculty, staff, administrators, peers, I probably have asked more questions in my first year of grad school than I have in all of my K through 12 education. So that is good though. Ask questions. If you're interested in research, ask how to get into it. If you want an internship or some sort of like professional development experience, ask your professor if they know how to get that. If you don't understand an assignment, ask them if they can walk through it with you. Grad school has so many opportunities and resources and just amazing things at your disposal. But quite honestly, most of the time you have to ask for them, just because there's so many things going on and every grad student's path looks very different. So I think it's probably like a two-pronged thing. Ask questions and use your resources, and kind of like a big picture thing, but just believe in yourself and don't compare yourself to other people. I think that was something I really struggled with, because I was the only first year grad student coming into my program. So everybody else was a year ahead of me. And I was constantly trying to compare myself to what they were doing, even though I was just starting out. I had just been an undergrad. I didn't know what was going on. And so that was a really hard mindset to get in, is that everybody's on a different path. Everybody's doing grad school for a different reason or for a different goal or things like that. So ask questions and get the information you can about what you're looking for, but also just remember that you can be proud of yourself for being here, because it's amazing that you are, and like huge congratulations for being here. But just know that it's your own path, and you can ask other people for help, but you can also just make sure that you're making this experience what you want it to be.
I would also encourage everyone to really get connected with your peers also. I think the most powerful thing for me about my grad school experience was how much I learned from the people I had in class with me. I think especially this pertains to the business program, and I know in everyone else's specialties, it matters too, but networking is such a key part of not only grad school, but your professional career in business specifically. And some of my closest friends I met in grad school. And we talk about that a lot in undergrad and that kind of experience, but take advantage of the opportunities and the friendships that you can gain, because all of these people are just as ambitious, just as excited about the field that you're so passionate about. And that's a really rare thing. You know, you're going to go into your job and you're going to be hired because of your specialty, and you're going to be surrounded by all these different people. Grad school gives you the opportunity to be surrounded with people that are like you. And I think that that's amazing. So I would just encourage you to get to know them, get coffee with them, do projects with them. And instead of looking at it, obviously there's always friendly competition, but instead of looking at it from the competitive angle all the time, look at it as these are people that I can grow alongside with, and you'll both be better for it.
I think everyone has given excellent points. I'm just going to go on the academic side. You're doing this master's with a purpose and a goal in mind. So the one thing that I found very valuable throughout my master's and in my current trajectory is that connecting each course. Whenever you're learning, try to connect the information that you're gathering. It's very important, because most of the times you will find that whatever you learned in the previous course is somehow can assist you in the next course. So always retain those records, retain those, syllabus, some important research papers. If you're researching something, make sure you keep a copy of that research into your folders. Like, and the best thing is the library, the research base that you're provided through the university. Gain access, keep them for yourself, and keep a track of those things. And I know it's academic, I know it sounds a little boring, but trust me, it comes in handy when you really, really need it. Sometimes your previous work assists your future work, and grad school just gets on and it just ends, and then you realize, oh, it's over. So just make sure that you keep those in at hand for your use. And another thing that I do, again, it's an off topic, treat yourself. If you like food like me, eat something nice before a big major project, give yourself that boost, whatever you like. I do that. Never put too much pressure on yourself. Just do what makes you happy, and then get on with the projects or assignments, because it's just gonna, bring out your best work.
Those are all great responses. And, it's really interesting that all of you touched on different aspects of three different things that research has shown really is predictive of success in graduate school. That's self-motivation, peer group support, and faculty support. So, speaking with your faculty is very important. Self-monitoring and really having your goals in mind is important, and also interacting with your peers. So, you all have talked about some really, really wonderful things. So, okay, I'm going to check the chat now to see if we have any questions. Oh, we do. Okay. Are there grad school resources? Okay, Dr. Kudali is doing that. Okay, so the question is, are there grad school resources for net grouping or networking with peer groups, clubs, et cetera, that type of thing? As Dr. Kudali has said, we're going to be, we'll have a lot of that on our website, and we are in the process of redoing our website. But there are a lot of the different things that have been talked about earlier today, some of the professional development events through that the graduate school sponsors, different things through your academic department. There's different things, but I'd really like to hear from our panelists to see, what types of ways that you have found to really kind of network with others, maybe outside of your academic field.
I was actually going to say, I'm pretty sure that, Garrett, you are in the OrgComm program, which is my program. And I am currently the president of COGS, which is our communication organization for graduate students. So I can touch base with you about that, because that's where we do a lot of networking things. But in terms of like resources outside of like that specific one for our program, there are a ton of resources that your faculty typically have. That's at least how I got to know some students in other programs or alumni, because there was a lot of alumni that are now at like PhD programs or things that are still pretty connected. So talking to your faculty, if you have like a specific kind of connection you're trying to make, or just talking to the people in your classes is also huge. I think kind of like what Leslie was talking about with just getting to know your peers and making friends that way, especially when you have classes that aren't just people in your program, but maybe it's like an elective. So you have people from like org lead or public health or something like that. Those are fantastic connections to make, because there's always things that they know that you don't, or opportunities they know about that you don't, and things like that. So definitely just talking to people. But if you want to shoot me a message, then I can tell you a little bit more about kind of what our program has to offer for those networking.
For the MBA program, we host a executive speaker series. So each month we connect with a CEO in whichever field that they are, or somebody high up an executive level in their field, and we give them the opportunity to meet with us. This past year we did Zoom. We're still kind of undecided because of COVID, of course, and we know things are rising. So more than likely, at least the first few will be virtual, but that's a great opportunity for you to meet people in our community in Nashville, up to Bowling Green. We also are chamber partners with the Bowling Green Chamber of Commerce, and we're connected with a group called Young Professionals, which give a lot of graduates. I'm actually a part of it. I know a couple other people from my cohort are a part of Young Professionals now, and it gives us the opportunity to stay in contact as we take on jobs post our MBA role. But I would also say too, I connected with people through projects and classes, and I was just really intentional of getting to know them. So I basically created office hours that I had before class on Monday and Thursday. And me and a couple of my friends just would purposely get together, get to know each other, help each other out. So even if there aren't things that are set up, if you want to get to know someone, just ask. And I think it was really refreshing to be able to kind of do that in our world that has been virtual for so long, just getting to kind of get coffee with somebody and ask them about what they're thinking in the program was really refreshing. So I'd encourage that.
So for me, extracurriculars is where getting to know people plays a role. STEM is very specific to your field. So I am mostly just integrated with the biology department rather than chemistry, physics. But part of what I do in my free time is I play music. And there are plenty of community bands, choral bands that are on campus and campus affiliated. You just kind of have to search for it, maybe Google, ask around. You can creep around FAC, someone may know something. But with that, all walks of life come in there, and a lot of them are different ages, different departments, different, just different and all together. And that's one way I've been able to facilitate connecting to other people on campus, not necessarily within my field, just because music is a bridge between me and that other person.
For me, it's the seminars that get hosted by College of Education Behavioral Sciences. And I'm assuming with the pandemic slightly fading away, those things will happen in person again. And in the past, there used to be the graduate reception that used to happen. That's a great place where you actually are under one roof with all the grad, related faculty, students, peers, everybody. And as Whitney said, I am also very much restricted within my department. So what I found useful is just keeping an eye out for the on-campus activities. There's a lot that goes on around campus. And if you just keep your eye out, you can always reach out and be a part of those activities. And that's where networking can just branch out really fast. And it's just that step that you need to take, and walking around campus, just getting information where you can go for the next day. And there's always something or the other going on. So just keep an eye out. That helped me a lot in terms of my networking, in being able to find a job and everything from there on, so forth. So just keep doing that. Don't just be restricted within the departments, maybe go out and learn about the other stuff as well.
Great answers as always. And we have another question that has come in. What are the ways online students can participate in university organizations or build relationships? So again, panelists, what are the experiences you've had either personally or through relationships that you've established with other students maybe in your program who are participating as an online only student?
I know for some of the virtual courses that I've taken, simple as just emailing a student, I'll see that is easily accessible within the directory. So if you see someone in your class, just reach out. They're 50-50 shot, they'll answer or they don't. But that was one way I was able to connect to the other grad students and some of the undergraduates that were in my virtual class that I may not have otherwise gotten to know because we weren't ever going to meet face to face. And it turned out that a lot of them were in my in-person class and I didn't even know because like this event, a lot of the screens were black. So all I did see was their names, and it was a way to put a name to a face, get to know, and figure out what was going on from there.
The one thing that helped me was I worked on a project in one of my semesters with another cohort member, and we were meeting virtually throughout the time, but we actually were able to collaborate a lot of information and then subsequently make them meet other people through virtual means. For now, it's virtual, but maybe in the future you can meet in person if, situations apply. But that networking helped too, like just getting information, being updated on what's going on, and it was all virtual. So I think what Whitney said, just reaching out to them, keeping an eye out when you're in the classroom, kind of seeing who's doing what. If there is a way where you are getting introduced, just listen to them, what they do. And then maybe if that interests you, just go ahead and ask them if you would like to be a part of whatever they're doing.
I know that part of the MBA program too is really wanting to integrate a online program as a whole. And because of that, we're actively looking for different ways that we can create that university connection, those relationships that you're talking about through technology. I think COVID and the pandemic has actually helped kind of push us in that direction, but I would continue to ask for opportunities. And any suggestions and thoughts that you have, let all of us know in our programs, because we want you to have the most amazing experience possible. And we are, I know for the business program, that's something that we're actively talking about a lot, is how we can continue to build those relationships when we don't have the luxury of getting to just sit beside one another every Monday and Thursday night.
Agreed on that COVID has really shifted it so that now there are so many more opportunities. I know that in my department, we're doing a lot of like online workshops and online kind of like roundtable events with all the graduate students. We're going to implement a lot more of those this year so that our students from farther away can be involved. Also, in terms of like getting involved, if research is something that you're into, that is an amazing opportunity that you can do virtually. Most of the research I'm doing right now is with people in Bowling Green, but we're still conducting it all remotely. So you can do like qualitative interview-based research via Zoom. You can do all of your like survey research via Qualtrics. There's a ton of different opportunities for you to work with other students and faculty and mentors and all that on research while doing it remotely. So if that's something you're interested in, I would really encourage you to reach out to a faculty member that has a similar area of interest as you and kind of see what opportunities there might be for you to collaborate on something like that.
Wonderful advice. I would also add to that, I have the opportunity to teach an online course every semester, and I think there's a lot of things that instructors or faculty members can do to facilitate getting students in class getting to know each other, because you're not in the same face-to-face setting that you would be. So really, I think there's a lot of really neat opportunities for you to start at least knowing students within other students within maybe an online class, and then branching out from there into different opportunities. So that seems to be our last question so far. I think we're right on time. So I really want to thank our panelists. Appreciate their wisdom and their guidance. And students, I think you've been very, new students, I think you've been very lucky to learn from everything that they have to say. And I know I've certainly enjoyed listening to them. So at this point, I will turn the program back over to Dr. Kudali.
Well, thank you, all of you, and Dr. Gordon as well, for wonderful discussion and for the guidance provided to the new graduate students. Just to close, we are here to help you. You have a lot of resources that include your peers, your senior graduate students, your instructors, your program advisors, your department heads, your division heads, your deans, and an associate provost for graduate education and the amazing graduate school staff. You are in good hands here, and you will hear from all of us through constant contact, email service provider, as we plan for activities and events and workshops for this year. We have decided that all the workshops and events that we are planning are related to graduate research grants, a 3-minute thesis, for graduate mental health and well-being, etc., will be held virtually. They will be recorded and posted in a YouTube channel later. So this way we are inclusive, and for graduate students who cannot come to our campus or are full-time or part-time employees within outside of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, a recording will provide opportunities to listen to these information sessions and be better informed and engaged during their academic studies. So thank you again for joining with us for a couple of hours this morning. And we wish you the very best as your classes start on Monday. And congratulations again on being admitted to your graduate program. And we look forward to working with you so that you can successfully complete your graduate program. Thank you very much and have a wonderful rest of the day.